Welcome back to the shop. Best laid plans always seem to run awry, and this week is no exception for me in my shop. I had a batch of time off from work and I had great plans for my shop time, including shooting a couple of short podcasts on a couple of things that I've been exploring in the shop. And I also wanted to get going on a couple of pieces of furniture that I have planned, a piece for my kids' school auction, and then another piece for the My Two Hands auction in Sisters, Oregon. And then, of course, I got a phone call early in the week from a friend and coworker who wanted some help building a piece of furniture for his home. He and his wife had found a picture of a small end table. I'll post a picture of this up on the blog so you get a better view of it. But it's an end table made with parts of a wine barrel. And he and his wife had acquired a really beautiful wine barrel from a local winery, and he wanted some help getting going on that. So what can you say to a good friend? But of course. So we started on that yesterday, and he brought over the parts from the wine barrel. And this is the top of the wine barrel. It's beautiful quarter sawn white oak, and it has some wonderful wood burning stamps on here with the manufacturer. This is made in France, and then I guess the barrel ID number. So we left that on and just basically cleaned the top off, but tried not to remove too much of that patina. And then the bottom is just absolutely beautiful. You can see the beautiful maroon patina from the wine that was in this wine barrel. And then the bottom shelf is the bottom barrel, and we took a router and mounted that on the center and cut the circle so it's a perfect circle. And then on the back we've mounted an MDF stabilizing disc, and I used my vacuum press to press that on, and it turned out really nice. So today we're going to continue working on that. The legs of the table are made with wine barrel staves, and then the whole thing will be wiped down with a couple of nice coats of tung oil and then wax. It should look really beautiful. Cutting another stabilizing disc for the wine barrel furniture, and I thought I would go over with you real quick how that's set up. Right now I have a table set up on my sawhorses. This is just temporary. It's a sheet of melamine, which is the work surface. On top of that is a piece of 1/4-inch masonite or hardboard, which is the waste. And on top of that is a piece of 3/4-inch MDF, which will be the substrate that I cut the stabilizing disc out. Basically, this is pretty simple to do. You notice I've got my router unplugged for safety so we can go over how this is set up. And basically have a trammel arm, if you will, screwed to the base of my plunge router, and from the edge of the bit, in this particular case I need a 9-inch radius or 18-inch diameter MDF circle. So I've measured from the edge, the outer edge of the bit, down the center line to 9 inches, and I've drilled a hole. Through that hole we will run a small wood screw through the trammel arm into the center of the substrate that we'll be cutting the disc out of. In this particular case that hole will not show because it's going to be flipped upside down, and Mike and I might actually make a nice little feature where we drill a hole with a Forstner bit and glue in a Oregon quarter so that he can commemorate this table. Once that is screwed in, I'll basically run the arm around, make sure everything runs smoothly, and then I will route the circle out in a series of stepped cuts until I free the disc. When that's done, then all I have to do is put pocket screws in the disc on the 4 quadrants that divide the disc into quarters, and that is where we will attach the staves, which will be the legs for the table. Set up. I've got the trammel arm screwed into the substrate that we're going to cut the disc out of. Again, I've got this unplugged for safety. We'll plug that in at the very end. Talking about safety, obviously eye protection. We're going to be cutting MDF, which is quite dusty, and the dust has formaldehyde glue in it. So dust mask is imperative, and then ear protection. I've already swung the arm around and I know that it works fine. I'm going to be using my vacuum hose, which will hopefully secure some of the dust, and I'll secure that to my router with a bungee cord just so that it stays in place, and then I'll hold on to that along with the router as I swing the arm around. What I'm going to do is cut this all the way to the very end until the last plunge cut, and then I'll turn the video back on just so you can see it being freed up. This makes a huge amount of dust and a lot of noise, so no sense in boring you guys with that. Okay, we're all set. We've got the top in the vacuum press on top of the bottom platens, which are basically melamine with saw kerfs. On top is a breather mesh batten. On top of that is a small piece of air conditioner filter foam, and then the vacuum nipple. This is a vacuum pump. This is the basic pump that you can get from joewoodworker.com, and it basically hooks up to your vacuum bag with this nipple and clip attachment. And then I've got this nice foot pedal that I usually keep on the floor, but I thought I would show that to you. That just turns the pump on when you're ready to go. And then all I need to do is, as I'm drawing the vacuum, is just smooth everything down so we get a nice even press. So here we go. So I've got this pump set for 28 millimeters of mercury, which is a good vacuum for this application, pretty much the most that this pump can draw. More than adequate for veneering, and more than adequate for vacuum clamping and other applications as well. So this is a great starter kit, and you can find this on joewoodworker.com.